And now, dispatches from the General.
Hello, my emotional support humans. Life is especially hard right now, but don't worry. We're here for you at Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. Tough times for America. Tough times for the world. COVID-19 keeping us inside, and now the murder of George Floyd and the protests sending us all outside. Peaceful marches all over the earth. Change is actually happening. For instance, the cops are finally beating up white people too. I support the protests. I support anyone who's trying to help. But I did see one slogan on a lot of signs this week that really bothered me. It said, racism is little dick energy. Well, let me say something. I have a little dick, and I'm not racist. So stop talking about racism being little dick energy. I was born to my mom's at 8 pounds 5, then my body got bigger, but my pee-pee same size. What a time to be a human on Earth in the age of equal rights. Women rose up with the Me Too movement, took control of their rights and their equality. And African Americans now are rising up with the Black Lives Matter movement. What's next? Are kids going to rise up and take back the Catholic Church? Let's start the show. Hello, my emotional support humans. I'm surrounded by emotional support dogs. We have more dogs in the podcast studio than is probably permitted by law. I don't know, Ed. What are the laws on dogs being made to be podcast guests?
I think it's allowed as long as they're fed well. There's arguably 300 pounds of dog in this room right now.
Yeah. There's 3 dogs down here, and we're emotional support humans for them, and they're emotional support dogs for us. And after 3 months in quarantine, I don't know about your dog, but my dogs are very confused why I don't go to work anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they used to be so happy to see me. I'd leave for 10 hours, and I'd come home, and they would jump on me. Now they just stare at me like, are we ever fucking going anywhere? And I take them out, once a day on a walk. And, for a dog, going on a walk on their own street is like the equivalent of when we open up a newspaper in the morning. Like, they get all the news from every smell. Oh, boy. Oh, no. Puddles is pregnant. And oh, no, Chopper has cancer. Oh, I wonder if his owner knows. Oh. It's like breaking news, and it is a fascinating time to be alive. I remain hopeful. I did get asked by my alma mater, Boston University, to give a video message to the students, and I did. I made the video, which they'll play at their virtual commencement. I graduated with a broadcasting and film degree with a minor in political science.
So is this like a commencement speech or what?
Yeah, sort of, but short. And they cut them into other people's messages. And, I'm the comedian. I'm sure they want me to be funny, but I couldn't help it. I was like, all right, well, my advice to the graduates, because this is communication school. So it's like, if you're a filmmaker, whether you're a filmmaker or a journalist or a comedian like me, tell the truth in your art. The truth will set you on a good path. And then I said, speaking of the truth is I also have something to celebrate. I just paid off my student loans. So great to see you, Ed.
Good to see you too, man.
Your fiance Julie is down here too. Hi, Julie.
Hello.
Great to see you.
Good to be here.
It's a family affair. Dogs and family in the bunker, which I really appreciate. So shout out to the graduates.
That's really cool you did that. You've never done anything like that for them before, have you?
They've never asked me to do anything, so I was, I guess, a little flattered and a little, they got, I was always had a chip on my shoulder. They never asked me to do anything.
Yeah.
Now I did something. I made a fucking video. Great. I'm sure that'll cost me a fortune in future donations that they'll ask me for every year. I don't know what I get out of the deal, passing on my wisdom to a bunch of rich brats. Anyway. I went down to one protest. I know you've been going out there. I went down to the. I'm afraid of the social distancing.
I'm very scared too. I mean, when you say I was going out there, I went out to join Julie for about half an hour at a park when there was like 100 people, and we were all very socially distant from each other. So it wasn't really a protest as much as like reminding everyone that we care over here too.
Right.
But where did you go? You went to.
Yeah, I went to the. I happened to be in Hancock Park, so I walked to the mayor's house, Mayor Garcetti here in Los Angeles. And afterwards, I thought that maybe a protest in front of someone's house isn't the most safe. It's not the safest way to protest. My pal Seth Green explained that to me, and I went out of curiosity and solidarity. I wanted to take a look.
Yeah.
But then you go, well, it is a residential neighborhood, and I felt a little weird because the neighbors, and it's a very threatening scene with cops holding tear gas guns. This is a very peaceful protest.
Yeah.
There was a representative of the LAPD in front of the house answering questions from the public, basically, about policing. But, you couldn't really hear her, and to hear her, you had to get into the mob, and I didn't want to risk my health, so I stayed across the street and took some selfies.
Was Garcetti in the house?
You know what? He was in the hot tub, so he never came out. No, I don't know. I'm sure he was at City Hall, hopefully saving the city. Because
you've met him before.
Yeah, I met him at all places. I met him, I think, once at Jimmy Kimmel's house briefly, and then I got to talk to him at length just a few months ago at Paris Hilton's birthday party. Not sure how they became friends, but they're both hot. That's hot. And I thought he was a really sincere and wonderful person to talk to, and the kind of person you would want running shit. Mm-hmm. Very confident. Gave me his email address, and I was, I thought that was telling that he's a open book, if you will, that he's willing to, even if he doesn't answer you, let people say, I emailed him directly. It's like a thing you want to be able to tell people.
Yeah,
I emailed the mayor, told him he's an asshole, or he's doing good, or a water pipe broke on Fuckface Avenue. Whatever you got to tell the mayor. It's nice to be able to email the mayor. I still have Ed Koch's fax machine from my early days in New York.
How's he doing these days, you think? I mean, he was killing it with COVID, no pun intended, but like everyone was loving him for a little while, and now it seems like everyone's back off his train there.
Well, I don't know, man. Could you imagine being a mayor or a governor or any sort of person in command during a pandemic mixed with riots?
Like any other time is a good time to be in charge than right now.
I feel like the world is slowly ending, and I feel like we should all just pick a day and kill each other and just speed it all up a little bit. I feel like we're just wasting time with this weird, I don't know, maybe we're not, and the world's not ending. Maybe this is at least maybe not the world, America's midlife crisis, A year from now, we might look back at this and go, thank God we bottomed out, and now we're healthy. And it's like Uncle Joe, right? He had a stroke. He thought he was going to die. And then a year and a half later, he's like, let's go hiking, let's go canoeing.
Yeah, he just built a greenhouse.
Yeah. So like sometimes people have to get really unhealthy in order to get healthy.
Yeah.
They have to have a scare. And right now we're all scared of, we're losing our freedoms, we're losing our health, we're losing our democracy. We're losing our moral high ground on the world. We're just another country. But maybe that's what it takes to, we're still a young country. We're only 200 and change years old, right? So the experiment is ongoing.
Yeah, but it is an experiment. That is a good word to pick for it, because Lord knows if it keeps going the way it's going, it's not going to last.
Well, the fact that they won't update the Constitution for equal rights and the way guns are used now, it does bother me when people are like, well, it's the Constitution, we have to abide by it. What other document from the 1700s do you still follow? Yeah. What if medical journals were like, well, no, we can't change the first medical journal. Right? Like, who invented the car? Ford. What's his name?
Gerald Ford.
No, he was president.
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Henry Ford. Imagine if Henry Ford was like, "All right, guys, here's the owner's manual. Go with it." No, we evolve, and the world is a different place, and people live longer, and people
don't own people,
and they intermingle, and well, even that took changing the Constitution. So
yeah,
we should be changing the Constitution.
Yeah.
As long as we vote on it, just like president or anything else.
There hasn't been an amendment in over 30 years.
I know.
That's longer than the internet. That's the things have changed. We're about to have private space travel. We should probably update the Constitution at some point.
Yeah.
It was written by dudes who owned people and didn't want to pay their taxes. So, I mean, it should be looked at least.
Yeah.
Give it a once over.
Yeah, read it over. Read it out loud. They should do a table read of the Constitution. They have just people from every facet of America. Break it down. They're going to do the census, and then they look at the whole census. And they go, all right, we have so many Asians, so many blacks, so many Mexicans, so many disabled, so many white, every type of person represented in some table read. Read the Constitution, and everybody goes, all right, well, that works for me. That doesn't work for me. Work on it a little bit. It's like a punch-up session.
It really could use
They
it.
should really, they really need like Judd Apatow to run a
reboot.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of this is 40, this is 242, whatever the fuck America is.
I want to see the female reboot of the Constitution.
The Constitution.
There'll be a lot more rules, I'll tell you that much.
I want to shout out to Mark Maron for mentioning me on his podcast this week. I was having a rough week, and I was feeling the blues, and I was definitely letting everything get to me, and which I don't usually do, but I couldn't help it, and I was miserable. I was charging my car on the roof of a closed mall in Glendale. And I was so sad, and I don't usually get this way, but I was just, and there was an earthquake while I was up on the top of the roof of this, one of those just concrete parking lots. And I look at the guy to the left, and he's just like, ah! And I look to the guy on the right, and he's just sleeping through the whole thing. And I just sat there for a minute. I was talking to my cousin Corinne on the phone. I'm like, I think there's an earthquake. And she's like, boy, you'll say anything to get off the phone with me. And and I pulled the charger out. I got in the car, and I just started driving. I didn't even know where to go. And I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to go to eat. I didn't want to go. I didn't know what to do. So I thought to myself, who's got it? Who could cheer me up? Whose life is the worst? Who's got it worse than me right now? And not that I have it so bad, but we all think, And I call Mark Maron. And I go, Mark, I want to come say hi. Can I come say hi? I'm having a rough day, and you could cheer me up. And he goes, so you call a guy whose girlfriend just died? Like, he was so blunt and hilarious about it. And I did go over there and sit on his porch for a while, and you know, we talked it out. We talked about my stuff. We talked about his stuff. It was a wonderful, you know, it's a good time to connect with people. When people text me during this quarantine, I try to call them back or FaceTime them back instead of texting back. It's another thing that Seth Green explained to me would be a good thing to do, and that really helps. And I talked to Mark about his friend who passed away, his girlfriend, Lynn Shelton. She made a movie I want everyone to watch. It's so good, called Touchy Feely. She was a really, really good filmmaker.
Has it come out yet?
It's been out. It's a couple years old, I think. And she made a lot of good movies, like 7 or 8 really good movies, and directed a lot of television. And I got to meet her over the Christmas holidays at a Hanukkah party that Natasha Leggero and Moshe Kasher throw every year. And this woman, Lynn Shelton, walked over and, you know, and started talking to me. And she was very charming and funny and knew everything about comedy and seemed to make Mark really happy when he came over. And I guess they've been dating for a year or so. And she passed away suddenly, not from COVID, from some other mysterious blood disease. And it was just heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. And Mark is a man that I know a long time. And, you know, I guess there's never been a time in his life where he's more equipped to deal with something like that. And, you know, I don't think I'm talking out of school because he mentioned it on his show, on his podcast. So, whoever you are and whoever you're losing right now, you know, it's okay to mourn, but eventually you have to move on. I'm a big believer in mourning and then moving on. I talked to somebody yesterday on the Insta Roast after show.
Oh, yeah.
On the Thick Skin Instagram account, I went live just to unwind. And there was a guy who I just happened to grab, and he had given his dad's eulogy that day.
Whoa.
And he said that he was channeling me and wrote a roasty eulogy because his 3 brothers did all the sincere, sad stuff.
Yeah.
And his mom was with him. It was just him and his mom, this old lady. She looked about 80 or 90 years old, just sitting there watching him basically get roasted by me while they were still in their mourning clothes. It was really surreal, but also healing in a way for them, because they wrote me and told me so afterwards. And I felt better too. You know, the connection with the fans makes me feel better. So thank you all. Thank you all for being there for me. I will always be there for you. Shout out to my friend Mark Maron for being so nice to me when I needed him. And my friend Bernie Shine for always being there for me. And you guys too, Ed and Eddie. I really appreciate you guys.
Got your back, man. Got your back.
What else?
I just noticed something about Lynn Shelton that I found very interesting. She directed Maron's new special.
Yeah.
Imagine,
you see that?
No, not yet.
It's really good.
Could you imagine?
It's called like End of Times or something.
Yeah. End Times Fun.
End Times Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were really connected. She was a cool chick.
You got to be in a really good place in order to do that, to direct another one's, you know, passion, your loved one's passion. You know, I feel like that's got to be very difficult.
If I ever have a girlfriend that I'm willing to let direct my stand-up, that would be a fucking miracle. All right, enough sad stuff. We're also here to cheer people up. Let's talk about life and celebrate life. I'm looking at the birthdays, Ed. Let's do some birthdays.
All right, birthdays this week.
Start with somebody alive, please.
All right, Johnny Depp.
All right.
Happy birthday, Johnny Depp.
Not for long. He is aging at rapid speed. Johnny Depp.
I know, at least 20 of his teeth are deceased.
I only really met Johnny Depp twice. Once was at a party at like 4 a.m. and at Guy O'Siri's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then more recently on my last birthday, were you guys there?
I was with you.
Yeah.
He materialized like a character of Pirates of the Caribbean. Out of nowhere, we were smoking a joint. Where were we again?
Tower Bar.
The Tower Bar. We were smoking a joint outside the Tower Bar. And as soon as we lit it, out of nowhere, Johnny Depp was in our circle like he'd been hanging out there for an hour and a half.
Yeah, he just appeared. It was so strange. And
unmistakably Johnny Depp.
Dressed exactly like he was in Pirates of the Caribbean that afternoon.
22 bracelets, 14 necklaces.
I think it was 24 bracelets and 11 necklaces. But
Didn't someone say, I wasn't there, but didn't he go around and individually shake everyone's hand?
Yeah, he gave us all our own personal Johnny Depp moment.
So I had a good birthday with the help of Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, wherever you are, I hope you're having a great birthday. Who else?
And Joan Rivers, your friend, your old friend.
Oh, man. How old?
She would have been 87.
I loved her. She was so funny. She would have been so important right now. She would have been so important. Telling the truth. She would have had access to the White House. She would have told the truth. I really miss her right now. Every time I have brought up Joan Rivers to Donald Trump a couple times.
Because they were friends too, right?
Yeah. I always try to remind him about the comics. And he says, yeah, she told me to run for president. I'm like, come on. He said, yeah, I have a letter. But we all said that to him back then. It's like what he wanted to hear. It was like a fun thing to say. It was like a joke. It's like he'd be an independent, troublemaker. Nobody knew that it would be
the end of the world.
All this. But you know what? He's doing a good job, so what do I know?
You guys, you did that one performance together that no one, I think, will ever see, was the Howard Stern birthday party.
Is it not on YouTube or anything? I don't know. It might be.
I've personally never
think you're
seen
right.
it.
You've never seen it?
Yeah.
It was a highlight of my career.
So
Gary
what happened?
Delapate, Baba Booey, producer of the Howard Stern Show, called me one day and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're roasting Howard for his 60th." No, he didn't say we're roasting Howard. He said we're throwing a giant birthday party. It was like right before the Super Bowl in New York when all the celebrities would be in New York, and he's like, he gave me the option actually. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but he said you could roast Howard. Howard would love it if you would roast him for his birthday. And it was all these huge stars, like everybody did it, as like musical performances and speeches and tributes. And it was at a big fancy venue in New York.
Everything you'd expect Howard Stern's 60th birthday party to be.
Jimmy Kimmel emceed it, and John Mayer and Maroon 5, like every rock star played, and there were politicians, and Bon Jovi was there, and the audience was star-studded. Everybody was there, every New Yorker, and but before that, maybe a month before that, Gary said, "Will you roast Howard? And you could do it yourself, but it's up to you. If you want to, I could ask Joan Rivers if she would do it with you." And it was like, wow. Like, I didn't even have to, a dueling roast, a gang roast, a duet with Joan Rivers. And it was a great experience, but also a great learning experience about how a pro thinks and operates, because I had a couple of phone calls with her to work out how the bit would work, and she followed my lead. I said, I think it's best if we go one joke, like tit for tat, you do one, I do one, you do it. That way it's really like, we're connected and it's one performance, and she liked that because it's different. Instead of taking turns with the whole roast, we just go for it. and we had like connecting podiums, and then we get to rehearsal, and we're going to go over our final script, and I think the Oscars were coming up, or it just happened, and 12 Years a Slave was the big movie, and I had Joan and I both had Robin Quivers' 12 Years a Slave references of some sort, right? And you know, we looked at each other, and she had a couple of writers standing behind her, and she kind of looked at him and looked back at me. She's like, "Yours is funnier. Do yours." And my joke was something like, "Robin, you know, they're making a movie about your life. It's called about your life with Howard, working for Howard. It's called 30 Years a Slave." and you know, she loved that and tagged it up with her own joke. But my point was, we both had a score.
Yeah.
And she wasn't being proprietary or bossy with which joke. She knew what joke was funnier or would work better in the bit. And she let me do it. And, you know, it wound up being like a highlight of the show and a highlight of my life, Joan Rivers. And then, come to think of it, when Joan finally passed away, not too long after that, the eulogy was by Howard Stern, and it was amazing.
I could only
It
imagine.
was one of the greatest speeches I ever heard.
Really?
Yeah, like Howard was just poetic, just great. But that's his story to tell, not mine. Happy birthday, Joan Rivers. You are missed. Can we talk, Ed?
Yes.
Can we talk? That was her catchphrase. Can we talk?
I loved her documentary. I thought it was unbelievable. Piece of work.
Yeah, it's so good.
Well, it really bothered me that it didn't get nominated because it was so good and it didn't get
For what? Loudest documentary?
I just hated how she was shit on by the Oscars so much.
That movie did not deserve an Oscar.
Yeah, it did.
Fucking documentary about Joan Rivers.
The people, they won an Oscar for the movie they made before that.
Movies about AIDS don't win Oscars. If you want to win an Oscar, you make a documentary about the Holocaust or you stay home. Speaking of the Holocaust, I think it's time for Touchy Subjects.
All right.
Touchy Subjects.
Our first touchy subject today is Elmer Fudd loses his gun in the new Looney Tunes reboot.
Wow.
Yeah. HBO is bringing back new episodes of the beloved Looney Tunes, but this time there'll be no guns, even for Elmer Fudd. Isn't that crazy?
Will there be dynamite?
There will be dynamite.
Ooh, I got nervous for a second.
Peter Brongard said, we're not doing guns, but there will still be TNT and other Acme booby traps. Fudd is actually seen wielding a sickle instead of a gun.
Like he's a news character. Fudd will actually be seen.
I love Elmer Fudd. He was always great. I was watching some Looney Tunes the other day because HBO Max just came out.
Right.
And they have a bunch of old Looney Tunes. And Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner might be my favorite thing in the world. I was just belly laughing for 7 minutes straight. I couldn't believe it's so silly and stupid.
Do mushrooms and watch the old cartoons someday. My head almost caved in one day. I was laughing so hard. It's so much fun.
Foghorn Leghorns, all jokes.
Really?
Yeah, the big rooster. Yeah, he is Uncle Joe, by the way. He's like, I say, boy.
I'll say. Wow.
No, who they don't have anymore is Speedy Gonzalez. All his stuff has been wiped clear.
He was deported.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Elmer Fudd. I think he'll be better off without a gun. Let's get that guy some pepper spray or something. What's next?
All right, this is cool. It's very interesting. There was treasure. That's right, treasure found in the Rocky Mountains. After sitting in the Colorado mountains, a treasure chest buried by millionaire art dealer Forrest Fenn has finally been found. The chest contained gold nuggets and precious gems. For years after the first clue appeared in Fenn's self-published book, A Thrill of the Chase, no one could find the right spot, and at least 4 people have died trying to find this treasure.
Wow.
Yeah. It was under a canopy of stars in the lush forested vegetation of the Rocky Mountains and had not moved from the spot where I hid it more than 10 years ago, Fenn said. I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him there to the precise spot. The successful seeker has not come forward.
I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him to the precise spot.
I think it's kind of messed up. He assumes it was a man.
Yeah. I wonder what else is buried in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, I don't know that many men that read poems. So.
Wow. Man, maybe it was just something that fell out of John Denver's plane.
Oh, poor Johnny.
Oh, well, cool story.
It is cool. I love the idea that people are still burying treasure and leaving maps for others. I want more of this.
Are there laws on what you can bury and what you can't bury?
I mean, if you own the property, I guess you can bury whatever you want.
Can I bury Nana Rona when she dies on my property?
I think you have to have her cremated first.
That's no fun.
I know, right?
I just want to make her dig her own grave and then put her down. Give her an Uncle Murray special. A steak with rat poison on it. That's how I want to go. All right, Ed, what's next, buddy? What's next?
Toxic toads are invading Florida. I know these toads. They've always been in Florida, but now they're getting out of hand.
What is toxic? What's toxic about them?
All right, so these cane toads, as they're called, they range from 4 to 6 inches wide, and they could weigh up to like 2 pounds. Their skin secretes a toxin that can cause a rash for humans, but can be deadly for pets and other animals.
Oof.
So if a dog gets a hold of them, it could die.
Right.
And the problem is these toads look just like the other toads.
Right.
And so you don't know which one's which. But these things have been a problem. They originally brought them down there to take care of the bugs in crops, and then they just ate all the crops instead.
Jeez.
So it was a big disaster. But these toads, man, they're big scary toads. Here, I'll show you.
Cane toads.
Yeah.
4 to 6 inches and weighing a couple of pounds. Cane toads is also Ed's porn name back in Florida.
Yeah, it's madness, man. Florida, anything could live though. I mean, if you go down there, if you go to the Everglades, it is so full of snakes and boa constrictors and pythons that it is gone completely out of control.
You said
they're not
snakes and
supposed to be
both dogs got all excited.
They're like, "Is it dinner already?"
That's the one thing I'm terrified of is snakes.
Yeah,
And it runs in the family. I was at summer camp with my sister, and my dad came up for like visitor weekend. It was like the first summer after my mother died. He just needed like a month to himself, and so he sent us to summer camp. And we were pretty miserable, but we were dealing with it. And he came up like after a few weeks to visit us. It was probably a few-hour drive from where we lived in Jersey. I don't know where it was even.
Mm-hmm.
And we're showing him around the campsite. He's there for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and a snake ran over my dad's foot. I never told you this?
No, I don't know.
Oh, half an hour later, the three of us were on our way home.
He just removed you from
He's like, he couldn't handle it. He was so freaked out by it. And we just went, we didn't care, you know. It was the craziest thing ever. It was crazy. I'm afraid of snakes.
That's why I'm so surprised you like dogs so much, because your dad famously didn't like dogs.
I never liked them either, but when I met Luna, I like dogs now.
Yeah.
She opened my eyes, and she opened my snout to some of the beauty in dogs.
Oh. Yeah. Didn't your parents hide Bunky and Oscar, or you and your mom maybe?
I don't know the story.
Hid my dogs in your basement, and then your dad came home and just started sneezing. He knew there was a dog in the house immediately.
Oh, really? I don't know that story, but that makes sense because we were all allergic.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a filter in my bedroom, and I try to wash them. I gave Luna a shower last night. Sometimes when I go to take a shower after a hike, or like especially at night, she just follows me in, and she just sits down. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And she doesn't seem to really like it. She tolerates it. She just sits there, but she knows it's the only way to get rubbed down with a towel afterwards. So I think she waits for that part, and then she runs around like a nut.
Dogs love that shit.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. The zoomies, they call it.
Yeah, I think it gets them like oddly horny.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're talking about yourself. What's next? What's next?
All right, you ready for this? This is a touchy subject. All right, a YouTuber placed her adopted autistic child from China with a new family after making content with the kid for years. So, are you ready for this? YouTuber Micah Stouffer has received backlash after recently admitting to giving up her adopted Chinese son, Huxley, after 2 years, who has autism.
This is so sad.
Stouffer adopted Huxley when he was a toddler and included him in many of her popular YouTube videos. He was diagnosed with autism after he was adopted. Along with her husband, she revealed in a new video that he has been rehomed and is now living in his forever home. He is 4. A Change.org petition has started to ask the YouTube to remove Stauffer's monetized videos with Huxley, because she monetized the videos that she had.
She made money on her son.
She made money off of this kid.
And then didn't keep him.
Yes. And then which is insane. I don't know what the punishment is or could be, but I feel like this is something that definitely needs a second look. This article's coming from BuzzFeed also.
Well, she should give him half the money.
Right? That's exactly what I thought. Just like the kid gets half the money. Just like immediately.
By the way, this could be a very slanted. Well, I'd like to know more before you condemn this person, because God knows what this woman did, spent, and she happened to make some YouTube videos, and I'd have to know more. But
I will say the one thing that I think the kid's probably in a better home. Now, I think if you want to take a brighter side of the situation.
Yeah, his new parents, they're on Twitch. They're fine. The kid's Chinese, so they're probably on TikTok.
In some videos, Micah plugged a fundraiser she had organized for Huxley's unspecified needs. She said every person who donated $5 would unlock a different piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle, which would at the end be a photo of Huxley that she would reveal to the world. And then she also would write the names of all the donors in his baby book. So, I mean, she made some decent money off of this kid. But at the same time, glad he's not there anymore.
I hope he's doing okay.
I'm sure he's doing a lot better than he was. I could imagine these people were in over their heads.
Speaking of Chinese adopted kids, I roasted my cousin Amelie.
I saw that
on the Insta roast over the weekend. That was really fun.
That was great. Amelie's wonderful.
She's cool. Well, shout out to all the adopted Chinese girls in the world. You almost never happened. So shout out to all you miracle women, girls, females.
Oh, it was fun going to our Chinese cousin's bat mitzvah.
Our little Orienta.
Oh, my. All right. You ready for this, Jeff? This is our last story.
All right.
You're going to love this one.
It better be good.
The military could lose Space Force trademark to Netflix.
Oh, that's great.
Even though Trump's Space Force came first, the new Netflix series of the same name, according to the Hollywood Reporter, has outmaneuvered the U.S. government to secure trademark rights to Space Force in Europe, Australia, Mexico, and elsewhere. The First Amendment should, in theory, protect the series from any legal action.
Wow.
So they won. That is a big win.
So Netflix got the name Space Force from Space Force, the division of the U.S. military?
Yeah, so basically, even though Trump formed the Space Force, they didn't patent it. And so Netflix went out and made the show and patented the name Space Force first. And so there's really, legally, nothing they could do about it.
Oh, my God. Wow. Well, I did watch the show. The highlight for me is Fred Willard,
Without a question,
who plays Steve Carell's dad, and he's hilarious.
every scene he's in is truly unbelievable.
He's amazing. He really is amazing, and I've been thinking about him so much. So it is appropriate, I guess, that at the end of the show we do a tribute to Fred with our roast in peace this week. But I've been thinking about him because he's one of those weird. He's one of those not weird, but he's one of those rare actors that. He almost always did comedy. I know he did he got an Emmy for a soap opera appearance, and he'd done, all kinds of live performing. But he was funny when he was in the 60s. There's video of him being funny, and then a few months ago there's video of him being funny. Like, who's funny that long?
It is insane.
It's crazy. Some people start serious; they become comedic actors. You got your Robert De Niro's but Fred was funny for the longest span of time, even before Fernwood Tonight.
Yeah, he had over 300 comedic acting roles. That's insane.
300?
Over 300 IMDb credits for acting. He has 314 to be precise.
Some of those probably took 20 minutes, and some of them probably took 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was funny just standing still. I would watch him at the 4th of July fireworks parties he'd stand on his tennis court, and he would light fireworks, and he would wear he'd wear red, white, and blue. He had red pants, a white shirt, a blue tie, and he'd light fireworks with his friends every year. He'd blow up his tennis court, and they had hot dogs and fried chicken, and they had a little parade around the tennis court.
That's amazing.
And he did the same thing he had a Christmas party, and he was just the life of the party. He was always hilarious, always charming. And one of the things that he was 86 when he passed away, just recently, and one of the things I think that kept him so sharp is he watched comedy. He was a big fan of comedy. Fred, I would do an appearance. I was on This Week at the Comedy Cellar, and it's a good show, and I had a lot of fun. And no one called me. None of my friends, family, my managers, agents, no one said a word to me about it after it aired. And then Fred called me. He said, "Oh man, that joke you said about this, and that was a great episode. And the last week was better." It wasn't that he watched because I was on. He watched everything.
Yeah.
He didn't miss a comedy show. He thrived on it. And imagine him watching everything, always in the back of his head going, "I'm funnier than any of these people." The fact that he could still be that generous and be a fan of comedy when he's a black belt, it made it all the more exciting when he gave you a compliment or watched something. And he would come to the roasts. He would always come to my live shows. He was all set. He had a front row table reserved with our pal Bernie Shine for the Bumping Mics tapings that never happened at the Comedy Store because of the quarantines. But Fred was very much working out his VIP path to the VIP table. He did not want to mingle with the riffraff. And it was just an ongoing joke and discussion with me, him, and Bernie. And I saw Fred right before quarantine. I saw him in January. I had a little get together, and he was there, and he was taping Kimmel that night. It was probably his last bit. He would do Jimmy Kimmel's show every couple of weeks. He would do a bit, and I called him. I said, "I'm having some people over to APL restaurant, just down the street. Come by afterwards." And his daughter Hope told me the other day that at first he didn't want to go because he was anxious about who would be there. Would they know who he was? There was going to be a lot of big stars might come by, and it was like, and he had an odd insecurity about it. Hope told me, and he often was like that, and she said, "Dad, come on, let's go. It'll be fun." Like she's never like that.
Yeah.
But she's like, "Come on, we'll say hi to Jeff," and blah, blah, blah. And they show up, and of course Fred sits with me, and he's the life of the party, and all my friends are so happy to see him, and Bob Odenkirk and Patton Oswalt, and they all just want to talk to him, and Al Franken just wants to talk to him, and all the funniest people want to talk to the funniest person. And Fred had a great time, and after he left, he said to Hope in the car, "Hey, thank you, Hope. Thank you for bringing me out. I really had a good time. It was great to see everybody." So he thanked her for that night out, and it was the last time I got to see him, and he had a couple of boysenberry drinks, and he had a good time. Fred used to come over my house, and I had a birthday party in my backyard over on Stanley, and him and Mary came, and they brought Manischewitz wine just to be like hilariously, waspy to Jewish birthday present, like what the Jew would want for his birthday. And Fred would just presented it to me in front of all my friends, and we posed with it. I have a great picture of it. Maybe I'll post it for this episode. Of him and I like holding the Manischewitz like it's 100-year-old bottle of scotch or something. I have another funny picture of us on the 4th of July where we're both holding we're doing like a coy little cutesy thing with our finger on our lip, like, "Oh, look at us." And he was just such a funny guy to improvise with. And I do remember early in my career, I had to interview him for something from one of the comedy festivals, and I didn't really know him. I'd shaken his hand maybe one time, but he danced circles around me. I was nervous looking at my notes, trying to do a proper interview. I was, probably like 30 years old and in my 20s or something, and here's Fred Willard improvising, just slicing and dicing me up, roasting me way harder, and making fun of me. Before I even knew what the roasts were, he was just killing me. And it was he clearly was a pro being interviewed by a amateur, and he knew for this to be funny, he had to take over.
Yeah.
And I was done. It was just like I got robbed or something. I was looking for my wallet. Like, I can't. What just happened? Like, I'm the guy supposed to do the interview and putting the show together, and this guy just like wiped the floor with me. And it was a really good. It was like when a boxer's all cocky and they walk into a ring, the old guy just pops them out of nowhere. Fred was cool, man. Fred was so cool. He really had a great sense of life and of people, and a lust for what made people laugh.
He took care of you and Uncle Murray too that one time also.
That's true. Our Uncle Murray was in L.A. and I wanted to show him a good Hollywood time, and it was Fred's 4th of July party, Fred and Mary's party, and I brought my 90-year-old Uncle Murray. Maybe he was 90, and maybe he was 88 or 89 at the time.
He was almost 90 at the time, I think. Yeah.
So it was after we yeah, okay, it was before we roasted him.
Yeah.
So, everybody was happy to see Uncle Murray. Like, my friend Allie was like telling him how handsome he was, and he took pictures with Joanne Worley and Doris Roberts.
Oh man.
And he was like feeling frisky, talking to all the ladies, and they were all hanging on his every word. He's telling stories about the catering business, and everybody's loved hearing about the weddings and then all the big parties, and he always had a good story, and he was funny, and he was charming, and it was my Uncle Murray's real big Hollywood party type of a thing, and Fred and Mary were very gracious to him, even though they had hundreds of guests. They talked to him, and he talked about it for a long time. He really had a good time, and it kind of capped off an amazing week of him being in L.A. for the first time and only time in his life when he met Mel Brooks that week. That was the one dream that he wanted that I somehow made happen. Shout out to the great Mel Brooks, who spent time meeting my Uncle Murray after I wrote him a letter and called him up and begged him. And they were the same age, and they both fought in World War II under Patton's army, and they really hit it off, and they had a great talk. And afterwards, I ran into Mel again and thanked him, and he was sitting there with his buddies, and he told everybody about how he met my Uncle Murray, and he remembered a bunch of stuff about my Uncle Murray. Yeah, he knew Cartsman from the deli in the Bronx. Like Mel's like rambling about the old days, and then I just said, Mel, and thank you again, and if any of your uncles ever want to meet me, I'm happy to oblige. So, anyway, before our official Roast in Peace tribute, here's a poignant clip of Fred on Fernwood Tonight with Martin Mull.
Remember me, when I have passed away. Remember that I lived and died, as you will too one day. If I can write these few short lines, it will not be in vain. If after I am dead and gone, you still recall my name. Remember me. And I think it's
well, Jerry, that's actually very pretty. Who wrote that?
Who wrote it? Oh, I don't know. Who knows? It's an old poem, probably some old guy dead and gone.
Fred Willard, love you, buddy. Roast in peace. All right, Frederick Charles Willard, born in Cleveland, but he wouldn't let that stop him. Fred went on to join the Army and was stationed in Germany in the 1950s, 10 years after World War II. Even though he had impeccable comedic timing, he was not known for his punctuality. In 1967, that was a summer of love, and after love comes marriage. He married his wife of 50 years, Mary Willard. It is still, to this day, the longest Hollywood marriage, beating the next closest by 47 years. A mighty wind is something you would also feel if you were standing behind Fred after he ate his lunch. Fred has 314 credits on his IMDb page. Fred worked harder than the buttons on Louis Anderson's underpants. Fred was a spokesman for La Quinta Inns. A lot of people didn't know that, but when we reached out to La Quinta Inns for comment, they said, we couldn't believe someone took the job. Little did they know, Fred's biggest weakness was a continental breakfast and a lumpy bed. I was lucky enough to have him play the role of God on my historical roast, a role he is sure dealing with the repercussions of right now. Let's hope, like most of the world, God did not see that performance. Roast in peace to my pal, Fred Willard.
You were great, buddy. All right. So you doing the Insta roast again this weekend?
I guess so. The people demand it.
That's right. You check it out. 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock on the Real Jeffrey Ross Instagram account.
Saturdays and Sundays. And then afterwards.
5 o'clock West Coast time. 8 o'clock in the East and wherever you are.
Yeah. Calculate it from there.
Right. I'm going to do a Father's Day show with David Tell, it looks like. So check out my Instagram for updates on that. Like a Bumping Mike's Father's Day party. Virtually.
That'll be cool.
On Father's Day, or at least that weekend. I'm going to do this other show called The Tournament of Laughs on TBS, June 21st also. It's fun. Jason Sudeikis is hosting a comedy competition. They canceled the March Madness bracketed tournament, so they're doing it with comics.
That's awesome. There's a lot of cool people doing it, too. Margaret Cho, Gilbert, Judah Friedlander, Micah Rappaport, Jim Norton, Fortune Feimster, Triumph, The Insult.
Oh, wow. It's going to be great.
Yeah, man. I can't wait.
I made a couple of yoga videos. Thank you for your help with that, Ed.
Of course.
And my friend Kai Arns directed it.
Yeah.
So I have some fun bits. What else?
You can go to roastmastergeneral.com for all things Jeff Ross. You pick up your Esh shirt, your emotional support human T-shirt. And
By the way, somebody posted a picture. People have been buying them and posting them.
Oh yeah.
I'll repost them on the Thick Skin account, and on it'll be fun.
Yeah, no, anything you
Because
get
it's not even about the shirt; it's about the community. Like I like seeing everybody kind of, I don't know, vibing on the same things.
It also sends a great message right now. We all could use an emotional support human now more than ever.
Yeah, since that free hugs guy's out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants a free hug, but I mean, I can spot you in your S shirt from a mile away. It's bright red with a black emotional support human middle.
Also on the website, you can grab.
And by the way, I know there's a fat guy. There's an extremely obese person right now going, I'm not even going to look. They don't have one for me. We have one for you.
Yes, we got 3X. If you're a 4Xer, hit me up and we'll see what we can do.
Right. We can sew two together if we have to.
I'm offended by people who are always offended. Baseball tees and mugs still available on the website. Go check those out. Those mugs are flying off the counter right now.
Really?
By the way, I don't know if you know that or not.
No, because
we had to order more. We sold out.
Because I've been drinking out of it on the Insta Roast.
Ah.
So people have been going to the Roastmastergeneral to .com to buy them.
Yeah.
So what should I do next? Should I sell the?
The emotional support human shirts.
We should probably wear one. Why don't I just wear one on the show this week?
I think that's a great idea. And also, when you do the Insta Roast, right afterwards, check out Jeff and his Insta Roast Wine Down on the Thick Skin page.
Yeah, it's fun chilling after the Insta Roast. By the way, the Insta Roast has been crazy. We had, I did a graduation edition, and I roasted Eddie Vedder's teenage daughter who's in high school. I roasted. I had Seth Green on recently. We had Dana White from the UFC.
Yeah.
As a fundraiser.
Joey Fatone comes by almost every week.
He's so cool.
Marco Andretti
was on a couple times. The Hilton sisters.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg came on. That was fun. Yeah, it was really. Jessie Mae Peluso was on this week, and I saw John Stamos in the comments, and she's obsessed with him. So it's like a fun little hang on Instagram every weekend, usually about 5 o'clock California time.
It's like a weird celebrity green room. Dane Cook's always in there hanging out,
and people have been donating money. It was really cool.
Yeah, you raised a lot of money for the Bail Project the last 2 weekends, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. And a lot of my friends stepped up, and I always read everybody's names at the end and of who donated. It's like a little I don't know. It's something to do.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have Insta Roast on the weekend and the sun starts to set on a Saturday night or whatever, I start going crazy. Like I'll start roasting random shit around the house. You call yourself a chair? Go to the barber shop. Get a job. If this was a plane, you'd be a middle seat, you piece of shit. So thank gosh for the Insta Roast. It keeps me sane. Thank God for all of you. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed the show today, Ed. It was really a good time. Thank you, Julie, for hanging with us.
Yeah, it feels good.
Give out Julie's socials, too, so she can talk to people if she wants.
At Canarda Bayback on Instagram and The Julie Rosing on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm Eddie Tunes _ on Twitter, Eddie Tunes regular on Instagram, EDDIETUNES, and on Twitter you could find us at Thick Skin Cast, Instagram Thick Skin with Jeff Ross, Real Jeffrey Ross on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Jeff on Cameo. You're making those Cameo videos for all those people who are lonely. It's the perfect birthday gift for anyone who can't.
Father's Day, I made some for graduations, and just other random weird shit like our coach is going to a different school. Like, it's fun. It's fun, man. It's really fun. Gilbert Gottfried turned me on to the Cameos, and it's really fun because quarantine, it's like everybody's miserable. So It's like everything I say to them is hilarious.
The great Bernie Shines on Cameo now.
Yeah, I hooked up Bernie with an account because I wanted to see if he could do close-up magic during COVID because nobody wants to go near a close-up magician anymore. So, so I was like, Bernie, if you go on Cameo, maybe you could still do close-up magic. And now people are ordering personalized tricks where he works your name into it and stuff.
That's awesome.
It's fun. It's really fun.
Thank you for listening to Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. Rate and review us on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube page. And if you want to talk to us, email us at thickskinwithjeffross@gmail.com.
Yeah, I always check rate and review. I would love to read. I love reading the comments and send us notes on the Instagram, on the Thick Skin Instagram, because I'm going to start talking to people more because I get good ideas for the show on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our show. Life is hard, but we're getting through it together. Bye, everybody.